Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to be talking about the recent news from SEGA Sammy as they released a financial report / forecast for this quarter. Yep, we're becoming a finance channel now. Well, obviously it's because it's got some stuff to do with Total War, as everything that affects SEGA does affect us. So yeah. Obviously, before anything, I want to state very much that I'm not a financial expert, but I'm just checking over the numbers here and I want to discuss it because, again, this is close to home for us because a lot of us are emotionally attached to Total War, right? It's not just me as a content creator, but you as a fan and me as a fan too. Though if any of you are financial experts watching this video, I mean, if you are more than keen, please provide some insight in the comments below because I think that we can all benefit from that. So keep in mind a lot of stuff here is going to be repeated from previous statements from SEGA, but this one's quite interesting, mostly because, again, what they've got plans for repeat is to keep getting their big series stuff, getting more content. Sonic, Persona, Total War. So you see, there is still plans to keep pushing Total War from SEGA. Interestingly enough, in or after quarter 3 for 2024-2023, so this current financial year, they seem to think that Pharaoh is going to do better. I'm not too sure if that's going to do better unless something radically changes. But yeah, it's something that we do need to note here. It's more the case of like, yes, this means that they do have some obvious plans for Total War in the future, and not everything is going to get cancelled. Because I know that when SEGA said that some stuff was going to get cancelled, some people were thinking that this is the end. I don't think this is the end. I think they're just going to kill off the side projects. The funny thing is that now that we know that this is the entertainment section, we can tell that costs are indeed up, but not by as much as they made it seem. It seems to follow the current trend of everything going up. I'm only stating this because obviously that was part of one of the original statements that we got with regards to Warhammer 3, and we can see where the costs are going up. For example, if you go on to Q1 and Q2, so obviously what's passed already for this financial year, it's gone up a little bit on the advertising section too, which is interesting. This is clearly SEGA as a whole, so it wouldn't just be Creative Assembly, this would be affecting all the other studios. But from a point of view as a content creator, where sometimes I do sponsored posts, sponsored streams and so on, the cost for that hasn't gone up, at least the ones that I've taken, and I know a lot of other creators haven't really had an increase of income from that, despite that, you know, we need that to live, but hey, fuck knows where that money's going. The reason why I'm showing this is because if it's happening for SEGA overall, I find it hard to just blame Creative Assembly when there's a lot of studios on the SEGA's belt, especially for video games. Obviously, if you're a person who's with a background of finances, you'll probably be better to answer these things. But I feel like talking about this numeration is actually quite important. Then we got some statements here which kind of just repeat what has been said before, but I kind of want to call a few things into question, right? Profitability has been rapidly lowered due to sudden changes in the business environment surrounding the European CS business, sluggish sales and increased costs. Okay. Sluggish sales is something that was supposed to be expected, considering that was this business year and a little bit of last one is when lockdown was being let up, right? So people were going out, people weren't staying home, and it's not just SEGA, it's literally every other major studio at this point who are cutting people left, right, and center. We've been seeing that happen to Frontier, we've been hearing that for Bungie, for Epic Games, for loads of other places. Do you guys realistically, and this is a question to a dev, maybe they can answer it, maybe they can't, but my question is, did they think that this was just going to last forever? Did they think that just because sales have been increased for a little bit thanks to lockdown, that people were just going to constantly keep playing? People were buying stuff because they were staying at home. I mean, I bought games that I would have normally not bought. It's because I was bored at home. And I get that companies need to make more income because of shareholders and so on. But again, who in their right mind looks at a event such as COVID was, where it's something that eventually would have been stopped, which, you know, we're all back to normal now essentially, and thought that that was just going to be the trend going upwards? Do people not look at financials and look at external trends and say, hey, this is the reason why we're getting more sales, don't expect it to last? As a result of reviewing the positioning of this business based on the above situation, we determined that it is necessary to improve its earnings structure by implementing structural reform, i.e. kicking out a bunch of people. We don't know exact numbers, There's been leaks going around, but even then, we won't know the exact number until the final kick happens and everyone actually starts losing their jobs, which would probably be around December. Usually that's a 3-week, 4-week, sometimes more basis. Would the structural reform not do better when making those studios focus on titles that they actually make? Like, for example, making CA focus more on Total War than spending 100 million on something else. We've seen a big thing there saying that it was about a 14 billion yen loss, but that's not just from Hyenas. That's the thing. A lot of people see and go, that's Hyenas, but that would have been all the money that would have happened for the years of development of Hyenas. So clearly it's not just CA. They might have just had the bigger cut in terms of losses, though. Because let's not forget that CA's shit show was not the only one. We had the one with Relic and Company of Heroes 3. They already had a cut, though. That was around 50% of their staff, I think, was publicly stated, which is grim, but maybe not release a game when it's not ready. That's more talking to Sega directly than it would be to the actual studio making the game, because Sega does have a lot to do here. So items to be implemented is, in addition to Hyenas, cancel some unannounced titles under development. Now, they don't strictly say that this is just Creative Assembly. There's other stuff mentioned here which is centered on Creative Assembly. So it could just be hitting other studios too. Mostly because a lot of us have been hearing some pretty strong rumors at what the next Total War games are. A lot of people have been talking about that, and not a lot of other games under production by Creative Assembly, right? Other than just Total War. Unless my hypothetical Total War dating simulator is going to be a thing. But then again, that kind of falls in Total War too, doesn't it? So next is, in accordance with the above, write-down of work in progress was implemented in the Q2 financial results. That's again going on the, what games are currently in production, what's closer to release than others, and so on. And I imagine that they're going to start looking towards other things to see what can be brought forward. So, we had that hypothetical Total War 40k, right? A lot of people think it's going to be 2027. I think too. It might get pushed forward, because that's going to make money. Then finally for this section, reduction of fixed expenses. Implement rationalization measures, including headcount reduction centered on Creative Assembly. So firing Creative Assembly staff, we've been hearing those rumors about certain numbers and so on. Again, we're going to have to wait until we see the final numbers, but I do imagine that those numbers are going to be fairly close. Again, not really a financial guy, so not my type of thing. One thing that does need to be stated here is, like, obviously, if they're going to, like, start looking towards other titles which are going to start making money and further pushing up releases, because it's something that might happen, this is just a feeling that I've got, wouldn't it be smart to not kick out people and instead have them work on those products? Like, obviously not everyone, because at the end of the day, not everyone is going to have some experience working in Total War and so on, but there's a fair few people who have worked in Total War that will move to Hyenas. Surely they must be brought forward to help a series which is currently suffering quite a bit. And this gets further expanded here for the future direction of European business. For CS business in Europe, we see potential for regrowth from the perspective of owned IPs and development capabilities for specific games, and we will improve our earning structure through structural reform. Okay. Right, let's talk about each of the points. Focus on the strength of each studio and narrow down the lineup selection and concentration. Again, yes, if Total War, CA, focus on Total War, they'll make more money, right? And stuff that people actually want, like, Med Free, just in general, some big stuff. Rather than smaller scale titles like Pharaoh or even, Hyenas, which was large scale in its own right, but not for what people wanted. That's going to make them more cash. Review of fixed expenses levels in the European CS business as a whole to an appropriate scale. So again, fixed expenses would be people, I guess, which is odd. Integration of Europe and US publishing functions. I'm not too sure what that means. I guess that's more of a financial thing, so everyone could probably explain that a bit. Improve cost structure by sharing marketing functions, strengthening development management, and content checking functions. I guess they're saying that they're going to be more involved, I think. And sales promotion through multi-platform and expansion of region rollout. I mean, that should always be a thing. Clearly, even though Pharaoh didn't do too much, it did hurt not having it in Epic. But I have my theories about that, and we'll talk about that another day, I guess. It's more the case of why are there going to be some region lockouts anyway, right? And then obviously there's a mention of mobile global marketing, which I really could not give two shits about. I think the main thing that we can take from here is just everything is hurting from Sega. It's not just Creative Assembly. This is the problem. I think a lot of people just blame CA proper, but yeah, no, I still feel like there needs to be some blame on Sega. We're not going to find out any proper full information until like the firings actually do happen, and it's an unfortunate reality that we need to look toward. Again, not something I generally comment on, especially with this situation with finances. I'm not a finance guy. But I did have a lot of people message me on Twitter and Discord and stuff, so I figured I'll put in what my thoughts are, and hopefully someone can provide some clarity, and we'll go from there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below to start a bit of discussion. I'm just sick and tired of everything going on right now. I just really hope that Creative Assembly can pull things back and have some sort of redemption arc, because this is getting frustrating. This is getting really frustrating.